Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates, and I'm going to be speaking to you today on a useful topic for codependents and counterdependents alike, and that is your power is in your feet. Back up from unsafe people. Many years ago, when I was a kiddo, there was a cartoon character that I remember having a certain line, but through the years I've always asked people, do you remember who that was? And no one could remember. I searched online today for about 20 minutes before I found it, and it was Fearless Fly. Does anybody out there over 50 years old remember Fearless Fly? He had magical glasses, and when he didn't have his glasses on, he was weak, so he would go, "My power is in my glasses." And he would be a superhero as long as his glasses were on. And I do have some nice new glasses, but I'm not suggesting that's the case with me. I'm suggesting that it made me think of your power isn't in your glasses, it's in your feet. You can't change people, you can't control people. You can't manipulate people. It's not healthy to manipulate people, but you can walk away. You can, in a non-reactive, non-pouty way, pick up your marbles and go play somewhere else. Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz had the power to go back home to Kansas throughout the whole adventure of the movie. She just didn't know she had the power. And that describes many codependent people. They have the power to make their lives different, to impact their lives, to not get their lunch money taken by bullies, but they don't realize they have the power, and they don't know how to use the power therefore. There's an old saying, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. 7 years ago, I was really knee-deep in probably neck-deep in a destructive relationship addiction. And the woman who became really my undoing, when I first met her, within 5 minutes, she looked at me and said, "I don't have a soul." And a healthy fellow would have run out of there as fast as he could, but a relationship addict was intrigued. But she was warning me, she was telling me, I'm dangerous. Proceed with caution and believe people. There are people in your life who are showing you who they are. They're addicts. They don't value you. There was a movie years ago that said, he's just not into you that much. So either people are into you or they're not, and if they're not, back up. Back up. There's power in backing up. I tell people that I have this right here. This is my tape measure. It is invisible. So if your screen isn't showing a tape measure, I have an invisible one. I carry it in my pocket with me wherever I go. If a client cancels appointments and doesn't contact me back, I don't contact them. If an associate shows me disrespect, then I alter my relationship with them. If a friend doesn't value me, I have to be cooler and more distant with them. I measure how far somebody's backed up from me, and therefore I back up from them. And that is self-protective, it is showing self-esteem, it's showing wisdom. It's basically saying, I am a person of value, and if you're going to be in a relationship with me, you're going to value me and you're going to treat me with respect. What codependents do is somebody backs up from them, and then you run and you cling and you grovel, and you hold on to their legs like a little kid saying, please, please, please don't leave me, which just causes them to despise you, and it causes your stock to go down. So I'm going to share 7 ways, 7 concepts of how, in a healthy way, you can back up from blatant disrespect and from not being treated well. Number 1, play it cool. Don't pursue. When people back up, many times it hits our abandonment issues. And then what we do is we grovel. They're not returning our calls, so we text them 17 times. Not cool, not sexy, not confident, isn't going to work. There's a book called Love Must Be Tough by the Christian author James Dobson that I've had many people read. It's about how to handle it if your spouse is having an affair. Well, you have to back up. You cannot stay put, and you certainly shouldn't grovel and throw yourself at them, even though that's the temptation. He told a story in the book that when he was early on dating his future wife, he was a big man on campus and everything was cool. But then he went into ROTC, and he comes back a couple years later. He's an obscure graduate student. She's the homecoming queen at USC. And there's a lot of fellows in line who would like a life with her, and she started to not value him as much as she previously had. So being a man of integrity and high self-esteem, he sat her down and said, listen, I'm going places in life. I have a calling on my life, and you're welcome to come with me, and we can be a team, and I love you, but enough of this nonsense of you dissing me and putting me on the B team. I'm the A team. I'm not the B team. So that little talk offered her an attitude adjustment, and she got on board, and the rest is history. They became one of the healthiest and most helpful couples really in the recent history of our country. A second way in our culture where we back up from people, we put people in our culture on probation, or we suspend them. Some kind of sports league, you might be suspended for 4 games for using drugs. And that is a way of, let me back up from you because you broke a rule. You can't play for 4 games. In our unions, we go on strike if we're not treated with respect and given the resources we need as workers. We go on strike, and it works. So a wife who was treated poorly, let's say her husband raged at her several times, she might come back and say, honey, I love you, and I realize that you're sorry for what you've done, but I do feel bruised, and I feel like there needs to be some consequences, so I am not going to do your laundry for the next 3 months, and nor am I going to cook your meals. And I'm just being congruent with the energy within me. I'm angry, I'm hurt. You haven't shown as much remorse and penance that I would like to see from you yet. So you've earned yourself these consequences, so I'm backing up. A third way is to not be so anxious to pursue them and make phone calls. What's the old saying? Don't call me, I'll call you. Well, what needy codependents do is they always are the pursuer. Don't call me, I'll call you, a Hollywood producer might say. About 3 or 4 different times I've walked into either a motorcycle or a car showroom, and I've fallen in love with the car in the showroom. And the salesmen, they ain't dummies. They know when somebody's fallen in love with a vehicle, and I end up usually paying top dollar for my vehicles because I just am in love, and I just got to have that motorcycle or that car. If I would walk away and come back in 3 weeks and then walk away again, I would have got a lot better deal. And That's how it works in love, and that's how it works in work. When we're negotiating contracts with athletes, if the athlete, is all anxious and they scoop up the first offer, then they're not going to get very good offers, and sometimes you need to take your talents and go somewhere else. We just saw that in Indianapolis with one of our best players, Mr. Lance Stevenson. Another way to back up is to allow people to have their consequences. I had a situation this week where one of my people in my life inexplicably showed some anger and some disrespect, and my first reaction was to be reactive and controlling, and let's have a confrontation, and you did this and you did that. But then I thought, I could just back up, and rather than going out of my way to do something special for them, I can choose to maybe do something special for somebody else, and allow them to not have that blessing that I was going to give them. And I felt peaceful when I made that decision. It was like, yeah, that's the right thing. I need to back up from them because they told me who they were. They're not on board. They're not digging me. So they're not digging what I'm selling. So that's okay. We'll renegotiate and figure out what the problem is. But in the meantime, I've backed up, and that feels healthy and it feels wonderful. So another one that is a real natural consequence is when I work with couples, they'll come in and a man will be angry because his wife hasn't made love to him in 3 months. And I ask why, and she says, well, I would love to make love with him, but I don't feel heard, I don't feel respected, I don't feel loved, I don't feel close, we don't talk. And I have to explain to the guy, you're going to have to learn to do all those things if you're going to make love and get your sexual needs met. This woman that's sort of how women are made. Thank goodness women are made that way, because now relationships then have to be based on intimacy and safety and love and connection rather than just on sex. It's based on love and respect. So I encourage women, I say, good for you. That's healthy. And only make love when you feel like you are loved and you feel that special warm connection. And it's been a strong motivation for many a man to learn all those things because, that's an important thing to most men. So backing up in that way is not manipulation, it's not control, it's not using sex as a weapon, it's being authentic, and it's backing up to protect one's feelings. Another way of backing up that has been traditionally very powerful and effective in our practice has been separation. There's a book we recommend, Should I Stay or Should I Go? How a Controlled Separation Can Save Your Marriage. And we've seen controlled separation save really hundreds of marriages through the years, because it causes a tremendous impact. If there's a person not able or ready to do the work, it wakes them up, and it causes them to feel a lot of pain, and it gets them mighty motivated. The last backing up is the most extreme, and sometimes it has to happen. If you have one person who's in an addiction and the other person has used every other method of stepping back, then sometimes divorce does have to happen. You have to step back even as far as divorce sometimes, because the other person is having an affair, or their drinking isn't stopping and their drug use isn't stopping. So that's a healthy boundary. So sometimes you have to quit a job. Sometimes you have to terminate a friendship. And it's painful for both parties, not just for the person being left. It's also painful for the person that is still in the relationship, that left the relationship, that chose to. But these are ways that you can feel your anger and back up non-reactively and respectfully and vulnerably that are very effective, and encourage you to meditate on the video and think of small ways, medium-sized ways, maybe someday eventually big ways that you can back up from somebody as far as they've backed up from you and really impact a relationship in a positive way. So thanks for watching the video today. Join our channel, Family Tree Counseling, on YouTube. We're up to getting close to 1,200 subscribers, so we're thrilled about that. Visit our website, familytreecounseling.com. We do have 6 books available, one on abandonment issues, one on shame, one on counterdependency, one on affair recovery, one on marital issues, and one on the basics of recovery. So thank you so much for watching today, and God bless.